Helsinki's deputy police chief. The German tabloid Bild's headline this morning is, "Were we lied to?" As we heard from Jenny Hill, there are suggestions that there may be something of a cover-up about the involvement of refugees in these crimes. With me to discuss this, two columnists, Gaby Hinsliff from The Guardian and Peter Hitchens from The Mail on Sunday. Peter, is there a reluctance?
Well, there must be. I think the German government is in considerable trouble. Angela Merkel is in considerable trouble over the promise that she made, and this only makes her position worse. And the more the evidence seems to suggest that those involved in these outrages may well have been recently arrived migrants, the more trouble she will be in. So you can understand why she and her allies might wish to play it down.
Gaby Hinsliff, you write, it's Christmas come early for xenophobes, but nevertheless we have to discuss this.
Yeah, there's a real awkward tension here because, Peter's right. There's no reason, it sows distrust. It is fundamentally undemocratic for police and politicians and some German media to play down or not report a thing that happened. If a thing happened, you have to be honest about what the thing was. But at the same time, you can understand there's a feeling that one has to report responsibly, that you don't want to leap ahead of the facts, that you have to be mindful of what will happen as a result of the way you report it, and mindful of the fact there are a lot of people out there who want any excuse to say all migrants are terrible, this is why they shouldn't be allowed in the country.
Is that something you'd be worried about at all, Peter?
Well, I think the problem here is this, that we have two things clashing. We have the cause of feminism and the cause of women being allowed to behave like normal human beings in the street, which all enlightened people support. And we have the cause of mass immigration, which an awful lot of people think it is enlightened to support. I think they are now beginning to recognize that perhaps this might be a mistake. Mass immigration, by definition, is unselective. Mass immigration, by definition, is of such quantity that it tends to force the host country to change to suit the migrants rather than to do as what I think most of us would prefer, to persuade the migrants to integrate in our society. And you have here a very extreme example of this and a very unpleasant one. But I think people such as Gaby, who consider themselves enlightened about feminism and migration, may have to resolve this contradiction by seeing that those of us who have been saying for years and years and years that mass migration is a danger to the very advanced civilization which we have might conceivably have had a point and might not be misogynistic dinosaurs.
Gaby?
I am thrilled to hear Peter say that he supports feminism. That's been worth coming into a radio studio alone to hear. So
well,
that's
it's
great.
amazing you didn't realise it before or think it possible.
Very much welcome to the ranks. I don't feel
new,
there's
Gaby.
I don't feel
always
as
been
am I allowed to
position.
say what I think,
Yeah,
or are you going to interrupt me the whole time?
No, if you're going to say things like that, though, I have to point out that if you didn't know I
some
supported
point, as a recovering
women's equality,
feminist, could you let me say something?
You haven't been paying attention.
At some point, as a recovering feminist, do let me talk. But yeah, I don't feel there's a contradiction in terms between being a feminist and absolutely supporting the right of young German women or young Finnish women or young British women to go out on New Year's Eve and do whatever the hell they like. I don't think anyone is saying that should not be the case. But I don't think there is a contradiction between that and saying that mass immigration has economic benefits, has social benefits, has problems and brings contradictions with it and brings things with it that we need to confront and deal with. But I think being a feminist doesn't automatically make me leap to saying that that's right, shut out all migrants because some of them may be dangerous. It is possible. Get away from the fact that there may be an issue with men coming in from segregated societies where they haven't had much interaction with women into a very, very different kind of society and taking some time to work out what that means.
What
but
can
the
be
answer
done
to that
about
is
that? If
policing.
you're right,
The answer to that is policing. If you look at what happened in Cologne, there was an lamentable failure of policing. The police say they were overwhelmed, didn't have the numbers, completely could not cope with this crowd situation and let down those women very badly. But that could have been any crowd situation that had happened to happen in Cologne, any public order offence in Cologne that night. It's the policing of it that needs to be looked at, not necessarily saying the answer is police your streets effectively, not halt immigration overnight.
Are we really in such a situation that we have to flood the streets with police in case people behave in this manner? Because, of course, the whole point about police is they step in where social self-control breaks down. We are accepting, if we do that social self-control has broken down in this area and that we can only enforce it by having huge numbers of men with clubs and shields flooding into the streets and squares of major cities. Do you actually want society to change in that fashion?
Social self-control breaks down all the time. Social self-control breaks down very regularly after football matches.
This appears to have a particular reason. I think one of the things which you haven't mentioned here has been the extraordinary statements of the mayor of Cologne, whose initial reaction was to tell women to behave differently. Now, actually, I believe this is the true attitude of the establishment in the countries which are adapting to mass immigration, just like the decision to move examination dates to suit Ramadan. We are adapting as a society to the large number of people from outside our culture who have arrived here, because that's what we have to do. Once they've arrived, that's what we have to do. This is what those who wished for us to have mass, uncontrolled, unselective migration actually sought to have. And to say it has economic benefits...
To
say it have economic benefits... Now you're interrupting me. To say it has economic benefits is Thatcherite. To say the only thing that matters is money. The thing that matters above all else is our society and its civilization. And if there's a financial cost for that, I'm prepared to pay it.
Gaby, should there be... I mean, the police chief from Helsinki was suggesting that there should be lessons for people on how to behave. What do you think about that? How do you change things?
I think I'd hope there already is, in a sense. I mean, I think it is a difficult process for people to integrate to new countries where things may be done very differently. And, yes, we have to get better at that process of integration. But I'm not sure. I mean, I think he said that those lessons were already happening, but he was casting some doubt on whether that was actually working. I'm not sure that a sort of a lecture in an immigration centre about women's rights is necessarily in and of itself going to change a massive amount. I think it takes rather a lot more than that.
Gaby Hinsliff and Peter Hitchens, thanks very much.